An often overlooked area within American entrepreneurship and business history is the funeral industry. When a local community experienced the loss of one of its members, funeral homes were the place where the community turned in order to find guidance and to gather loved ones together. For the majority of American history, funeral homes were owned by independents or families. These owners were local residents who held a vested interest in their hometowns. Many of these funeral homes were family businesses where whole families worked together and passed the business on to their children. As the American economy evolved over time and technology with it, the funeral industry saw the advent of corporate owned funeral homes. The corporate owned funeral homes introduced competition into areas once dominated by family owned funeral homes. This paper attempted to answer the question: how has the increasing number of corporate owned funeral homes entering local communities affected the success of and necessitated change within family owned and operated funeral homes? An examination of this topic was necessary as, with the expansion of large corporate funeral homes nationwide, the survival of small funeral homes were required to shift from tradition and devise ways of entrepreneurial adaptation, as well as learn to implement new technologies and adjust to shifting consumer expectations. The significance of this topic laid in how this once isolated industry was suddenly faced with new competition, and how, as this industry evolved, it caused the local communities to adapt. This research utilized a variety of primary and secondary sources. Since the funeral industry had not been examined within a historical context, many sources had to be uncovered from other fields of study or from direct sources within the industry. The most significant primary sources used in this research were the oral interviews conducted with people directly in the funeral industry. These figures included interviewees such as John McQueen, who was the owner of the largest family-owned funeral home in Florida; Daniel Buchanan, former president of Gupton Jones College of Funeral Service; and Thomas Parmalee, former executive editor of Funeral Service Insider and founder of FuneralVision.com. These individuals were each involved in the funeral industry at high levels, but in different parts of the industry. The ability to interview each of these figures allowed for a more well-rounded understanding of the shift within the industry, as their perspectives were able to be compared and contrasted. Some had owned or worked in family firms. Some had observed the industry from an educational or journalistic perspective, and others had witnessed the effects of consolidation directly. By comparing their perspectives, this paper was able to be developed with a more balanced understanding of the industry's transformation. Other primary sources, such as reports and figures from large funeral corporations, such as Carriage Services Inc. and Service Corp International, were also beneficial for examining how expansion increased over time. Their annual reports, SEC filings, company materials, and acquisition data help show the scale of corporate expansion. Government sources, especially the Federal Trade Commission's funeral rule materials, also helped explain how regulation changed funeral home business practices by requiring greater price transparency and consumer disclosure. The methodology of this paper combined oral history, business history, and regulatory analysis. Through the use of interviews, an understanding of how people inside the industry experience change was developed. Then, those perspectives were compared with corporate filings, FTC materials, trade sources, and secondary scholarship on death care, consumer protection, professionalism, and innovation. The central finding of this research was that corporate consolidation did not single-handedly transform the funeral industry, but it forced family-owned funeral homes to confront changes that were already developing. These included rising cremation rates, new technologies, internet marketing, online obituaries, live stream services, changing consumer expectations, increased regulation, and succession problems within family businesses. Corporate firms had advantages in scale, training, benefits, supplier relationships, and administrative structure. Family owned funeral homes could not usually compete dollar for dollar, so their survival depended on adaptation. This paper ultimately argues that successful family funeral homes had to shift from relying only on tradition and local reputation toward a more entrepreneurial model. They needed to adopt new technologies, improve marketing, personalize services, manage costs, respond to consumer expectations, and preserve the local trust that had historically made them valuable. In that sense, the rise of corporate funeral homes did not simply replace family firms. Instead, it forced the entire industry to modernize. Thank you very much.